Welcome, folks. We're continuing with our Southwick Stories. Jim Putnam will be here in a little while, hopefully. Tonight, or actually today, not tonight, I am very fortunate. I have a young man that drove up from Florida just to see me. Yes or no, kinda? Kinda. We'll go with that, sure. His name is Guy Boccasile. So, back in the day, Guy, how old are you?
I will be 80 in October.
Well, you look great.
Thank you.
You truly do. And I guess you're right, Florida does take a few years off of you.
It does. Very, very fortunate.
So you grew up in Southwick?
I did.
Down by the lakes, I'm told.
Yep, at Gino's Brass Rail. My mom and dad moved into the present building that's there to this day in 1940.
1940. Wow. And restaurant back then?
Correct. Yep.
Did you put the bowling alley in?
Bowling alleys were put in, I believe, in 1949, 1950-ish.
I happened to be in the cellar a couple years ago. I never knew they were there.
Yeah.
And I come across a bowling alley, and I was like, are you kidding me? Wow. So that was the heyday back then.
Yeah, the bowling alley, believe it or not, if you want to dwell on that for a minute or two, was kind of very, very interesting because we did have leagues Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Tuesday night was the women, but the other three men's leagues. So you had 12 teams.
Wow.
5, 6 guys each. So if you do the math, you had
You had a good night.
You had quite a few of the men from town, Southwick. The Wolf brothers. They all bowled. There was, Battistonis, 2 or 3 of the Battistonis bowled. It was interesting. Prifties,
Yep.
There were a lot of the old timers, a lot of the old farmers, Mason, a lot of good people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, very enjoyable time. Kept the place busy.
Yep.
We keep going with the brass rail. We had clam bake shed there that would seat 600, so we had some good sized clam bakes there. I think over the years we used to do American Saw every year, which was probably one of our largest, and
Wow.
it was 600 to 700 every year. Yeah.
So grew up in Southwick. Did you go to this? Was this your building?
Yep. I went to school here, and then to the. I guess I'm not even sure. It's not the elementary school now, but I guess it's the,
Right. Powder Mill.
Powder
Whatever
Mill.
it's called back then.
Yeah. And,
No high school then?
No high school here. Then
Right.
went to Westfield High, and
Westfield
then I
High.
graduated from Springfield Trade.
Really? Where was the trade?
Springfield.
Automotive?
Nothing to do with automotive.
No.
Believe it or not. I've been doing it for 60 years, but no. I started with architectural drafting and ended with graphic arts. So,
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
It's pretty funny, but no.
That's something.
Yeah. But the brass rail started. My parents started back in the early 30s, probably mid 30s, and they were in a little place in.
What was your father's first name?
Lewis, the same as me.
Okay.
Lewis, and he went by Gino.
That's right, Gino. That's all I ever hear about is Gino
Yeah,
Boccasile.
and
Okay.
my mother was Libra.
Okay.
Okay, and they started a place down by the Dwight Street area, Springfield. They were there a year or two, and then they moved to Nora's actually in
Okay.
I believe they were there in 36, I think it was 1936, 37. They were there a couple years, and then they rented a place from Gavioli across the street where the state launch is now.
Really?
It would be to the right of Louis B's, where the launch is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they rented that building there, which actually I just found out the other day from somebody in a conversation. You and I were just talking about Mr. Battistoni.
Yeah.
And Bob told me that I didn't realize that was actually a skating rink, but I guess it was one of a couple skating rinks we had in town. I didn't realize that. I thought that Kings Beach, actually the big building at Kings Beach back in the 50s, I thought was a dance hall, but Bob tells me he thought it might have had skating also, so interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were there 2-3 years, and Gavioli's at that point thought that they were doing so well because they were bringing a lot of groups out of, acts out of New York and everything.
Wow.
And we're doing very well there that they broke the lease on them, so my mom and dad bought the property across the street from Bab. Used to be a carousel on that piece of property up on the hill. So I think Bab disassembled the carousel, and I don't know where he moved it to, but they took and they bulldozed the hill down, and at that point they could do it, and towards the old Lakeview, or at that point it was LaFay's back there, and built the brass rail. They moved in there, I believe, the first of the year 1940, and we were there for 30 years. Sold out in 1970. But at the time that we were there, we were involved with the bowling alley, which, like I said, I believe it was 51, right around 1950 with the bowling alley, and the clam bake shed was 1953.
Right.
And we had the 2 homes there that we lived in until we moved miles south to West Suffield.
Did the flood affect all that? Must have.
We actually were very, very, very fortunate. We didn't have any flood damage. We didn't.
Right.
At the brass rail. We did have, quite a bit of water.
No roads to get to you, probably, but.
Well, believe it or not, I still remember them with the culvert that goes under the road there between, which used to be Minnie's Boathouse, the little place there on the canal. And I can remember them trying to block the water there. I mean, as a kid, at that point, I was probably, 12 years old. And at that point, I can remember them with loaders they were dumping anything and everything they could. I mean, stumps. We had my mom and dad, we had the property across the street there where I'm not even sure what the restaurant was, but I built that marina back in 1980.
Okay.
Across the street from the brass rail.
Yeah.
But that property we had, and whatever was there, they would take and try to stop, and they finally did get some stumps in there and some trees in there, and they finally got it slowed down, and then they dumped, I can't remember where they dumped dirt or whatever, but they did finally get it stopped.
Wow.
Yeah, but we lost the lake, so there was nothing there. There was a towpath that went from Minnie's, if you were to go in on the side where Minnie's Boathouse was. There was a towpath that went out and went down past us, and then almost to North Pond. And when the lake was out, my father and some of the neighbors there on the same side of the road, lake there, we got permission from the state and put a bulldozer in there, and they were able to clean that whole lake out. And
really?
That's
North Pond per se.
Well, it was called a lily pond at that point.
Imagine
where we
that.
were.
Yeah.
I mean, we
true.
We had a small beach there, but nothing until after 55, after the lake came back. The beach was much nicer.
Sure.
And my parents did an awful lot. We did an awful lot with the town, with swimming lessons there.
Okay.
Yeah, for kids with the school system and everything in town.
Nice.
Yep. So
that's the brass rail.
That's the brass rail.
So Guinea Town.
Oh yeah.
Is that just all the Italians in that area?
So I'm quite a few.
I'm a Zanoli.
Yep. Oh, okay. Yep.
Okay.
Zanolis were up on the hill.
Yep,
sure.
on the hill.
Yeah, Lavalle's, the little store.
Yep. My mother is Carol Zanoli. Yeah. So Joe Zanoli is her father.
Yeah.
And I believe Joe Zanoli had 2 different marriages. He had a first round, and then in his older years he moved to Westfield.
Okay.
And that's where he had my mother, Ron Zanoli, Butchie. There's a few of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So Zanoli in town here still.
Yep.
Is a cousin of mine.
Okay, Joe.
Joe. Yeah. Well, Joe and John.
Yeah,
Joe just passed.
Yep. Both Joe and John worked at the restaurant with us.
Yeah.
And Joe's an only senior. I mean, he and Minio and
the whole crew.
They did a lot of building. Actually, they built my house.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. The Chakowskis were, right there in that area. Bruce Weston.
Yep.
Up there, there's quite a few families.
Yeah.
A lot of Italians.
Mr. Prifty would talk about Guineatown quite a bit before he had passed.
Well, the Lakeview Inn, which was behind us, was owned by Caruso's.
Okay.
Okay, so it was another Italian family. Gavioli, Spadassoni had the SP Club.
Yep.
Mondo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting. It was a interesting area.
It is.
Yeah.
What was your favorite beach back then?
I think everybody kind of leaned towards Babs, because it was so much going on, at Babs with with the arcade there and the beach and, the diving boards and everything. Kings Beach wasn't much of a beach, and just like ours, we had a raft at our beach, but nothing, nothing like Babs had.
Yeah.
Babs had pretty much everything. Smith's Beach, I think some of the kids, gravitated down towards there too.
Yeah.
But I don't, like I say, unfortunately I'm not old enough to remember. I've heard a lot about Miller's Beach and some of the other ones, but saw some of the remains of some of it. But
Mr. Pratt talked quite a bit about Babs and the diving boards and
a
certain spot out there you could dive down all you wanted, but it would push you right back up. And it was interesting. Yep. In this school, best teacher, what was your favorite teachers? You remember any of them?
Yeah, I think Mrs. Hill, she helped me an awful lot, and she lived right almost on the Westfield line, a beautiful little home there.
Oh, nice.
And I had a couple issues when I was young because I was very sick with asthma, so I missed an awful lot of school, so she helped me quite a bit with tutoring and whatever. So, yeah, she was very... And then Mrs. DeRocha, I think, lived right here, across the street from Charlie Pratt, down in the back there.
Oh, geez. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see here. What else we got? So you worked at Gino's growing up.
Yep.
That was your only job?
That was it. Yeah. Well, don't forget we have always had Ebb's Corner up until 2004 in West Suffield. So we had the little grocery store there from 1953. So
you guys,
my sister and
30
I both,
years at the brass rail, and then you kept the grocery store going up top. Okay.
Yeah. So I was up there. So
that whole corner. So when I met you, you were in the garage doing frames and stuff, but at one point, that whole corner was you guys.
Yeah.
You owned that whole side of town.
We had about 30 acres there. My grandfather, my dad, my grandfather on my mom's side, they developed all the homes on the perimeter, on Babb Road and on Mountain Road, and built a little store back in the early 50s.
So that's what got you to come to Southwick. There had to be a connection for your parents to come.
I don't know how they ended up actually ended up in Southwick. I think that they just liked the area there, and they bought the house which used to be the old schoolhouse. Right on the corner of Berkshire and Point Grove Road. Okay. And actually it's funny, that served as to hold the license. They had a little brass rail and the Raskeller in the cellar of it for a very short time because they needed to hold the license. In between. But they, like I said, they were just in that. They liked the lake area there, and when they got kind of booted with the old anchor there out of that brass rail, they moved it across the street. And like I say, my grandfather and father, we built the store. They built the store in '53, so we had the store for quite a few years. Yeah.
So did you go to college?
I did not. No.
Right into the workforce.
Right into the workforce.
Yeah. At 12.
Well, I think, Italian heritage, I mean, that's what you did.
That is exactly what you did. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and it was good. I enjoyed everything. I mean, I got involved with, I did both for quite a while there, but I did enjoy I opened up my shop in 1971, and we're still going. It's all leased now, but my name is still on it. I still, still own it, and so we've been going for 53 years.
Imagine that.
Yes,
Let's move to Southwick. Let's open up an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
So the brass rail, you guys are done with it. You sold it to?
It was sold to a family by the name of Atkins, two brothers, and they had it for not an awful long time.
That's
I don't
what I
know what
was told.
happened. They were in there several years. They bought it for the kids, but for some reason the kids just
It never
didn't
works.
pick up on it, so
Yeah.
they kind of got rid of it. I think what happened was two brothers, and I think one of the brothers got ill, and the other, between the two of them, they just decided. Sure. And then St. Peter bought it after that. Not Ed St. Pete, the aluminum siding guy, but I believe it was his brother, Bob, maybe.
Okay.
Robert. And they had it for a while, and then after that, I kind of got lost.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm not sure who took who removed the bowling alleys, but or you said, or
like
did
I
you
said,
say they're still there?
The resemblance were there 6-7 years ago.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Joe, who owned the other place on the other side of town there, him and his wife apparently owned it somehow. He has.
Scuderi.
Scuderi,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was in there with Joe once or twice doing a benefit for the Rotary.
Oh, okay.
And helping them, and that's when I learned about the bowling alleys.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe everything now is probably gone because the latest tenant went through and painted everything, cleaned it up, and made a banquet hall downstairs, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I haven't. Apparently, everything's white inside now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. So, what did you do for excitement back in the 50s in Southwick? It was still a one-lane road through the center.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
Still closed up at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. It was quiet here. Yeah, for sure. In Southwick. I think, unfortunately, with me, it was cars from the time I was 14 or 15 years old. So
It was.
So I drove my parents crazy because, of course.
What was the first car?
I bought a pair of Model A's from a guy in Blandford, for God's sakes, and I think he charged me $50 and put him on his own flatbed farm truck and
brought him down to you.
me. Yeah, and out of the two of them, I built one that I drove for a little while. The other one I disassembled, bought a fiberglass tea bucket from Walt Meisner over there in Agawam, and Chevy V8 motor, and that was the start of all the craziness.
Off to the races we went. Anything to do with Riverside Park back in the day?
I did not. No. I mean, I did go, and I went with a couple of friends of mine. I had a cousin of mine from Westfield that raced over there, Plazic, and I would go over there with Dave every now and then.
Yeah.
And just because I was into automobiles.
Automotive, general, yeah.
But with me, it was I like drag racing, so I got into drag racing. I built myself a little 34 Chevy with a V8 in it. And
nice.
Raced C altered for several years.
Wow.
Between Lebanon and Connecticut.
Yep. Yeah, I grew up at both of those tracks.
Yep.
Literally. Yeah. I worked at Red Barn Speed as a kid.
There you go.
And I'll have to show you when we're done pictures of my latest creation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going up Sunday.
Yeah.
So drag racing was your thing. Nice. The streets in Southwick, they closed up.
Did a lot of boating. I did get involved with. I raced. Just a small utility. A little 10-horse Merc. But I got involved with that for a little bit too, a couple of years.
Was Suffield getting built up at the same, because you're right on the edge. You talk about.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, that little corner where we were.
Right.
My mom and dad and I did a development there.
Right.
Where I lived, right behind the store there. We put in another 20 houses in there. That was sold to a developer.
Yep.
Elzier Roy, who's done quite a bit in the Suffield area. I don't think much in Southwick, but he bought that, and that was kind of a stepping stone for him.
Sure.
He did below on the lake there where Hernowitz was, that area too.
Yeah.
So,
and you could do a lot more back then as far as close to the lake and.
Oh yeah. There was. There was still permitting issues.
Sure.
I mean, we were fortunate. We were able to get permits to do what we had to do.
Right.
Mr. Saunders had an issue with his property
Did
there,
he?
but
Back then,
but I guess did get it resolved.
Was the Franklin House back then?
Yes.
It was.
I don't know whether it was. I don't believe it was the Franklin House.
But it was
at that
there was a
point,
restaurant
but
there.
It was, yeah. And then the other, where Scuderi was there, Joe's place was Ovid's for years and
Ovid's,
years.
that's right here, yeah.
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 And like I say, down our end was LaFay's, and then Lakeview end, and then the Anchor across the street, and Louis B's, and Norris for
was
years
the Legion
and
there,
years.
the VFW, or what? That was a pizza place, wasn't it, or something?
VFW was, it was, I can't remember the name
Yeah, it was
of
something.
Yeah.
A restaurant of sorts.
It was, and I wish I could remember the name.
I gotcha. Yeah. Mr. Zanoy talks about that place quite a bit, but he kind of grew up right.
Weston's work right across the street. They'd probably remember the name of it too. Yeah.
That's interesting.
That was there. I mean.
So went to school here.
Here.
Yeah.
Westfield, Springfield.
That's right, Westfield, Springfield. So we had our police and fire were all in that corner still back then, right?
I'm not sure when they built that building. I do remember it being built.
But it was all like it was still one little.
Was there.
Everything was there.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Nucci was
Nucci Prifty
was very involved.
He was in charge back then.
Oh yeah, a lot of people don't realize, but Mr. Prifty, Nucci himself, my dad, and like I think Fred Hanks was another one.
Yeah, I hear that name.
There were several of the guys that were involved. Swartz, I think, was another one, Carl Swartz. But that whole group of the town of Southwick needs to be very thankful to that group, because they were the ones that were so instrumental in buying that property, all that property where the schools are now.
Oh, really?
So that I mean. You stop and you look around, and there's not many towns. If you go to Westfield, you go to Suffield,
right,
Granby. I mean, there's not many that have a campus where they can, have all their schools in one location.
Yeah, and we literally do. You're right.
Yeah, and that was because of those old timers. They had foresight. They really did. They did, and were able to buy that property and bought it all.
Yeah, and then the rec center goes in next door.
Yeah,
right, which is perfect.
Yeah.
I mean,
powder mill.
Yeah, that's worked out very well.
Area.
And motocross came in the 70s, I think.
Bernie Yellen. And I can't remember who. It was.
There was a bunch of them.
There was 3 or 4 of them.
Peebles, Ray Peebles, Bernie Yellen, Dante Molta.
Yeah, they got involved. Yeah, Bernie Yellen was quite
the character.
He worked for M.L. Smith, I think, in Springfield.
Yeah.
But he was quite the electrician. He actually helped me when we changed out the bowling machines in '58 or '59, and my dad, who was not very mechanical,
right,
myself and another friend of mine,
right,
and Bernie would come and do all the electrical for us, and the two of us changed all the machines out back then.
Yeah, I hear Bernie was quite the electrician. I known him through motocross.
Yeah.
But then when we got involved, he was in his elder years.
Yeah.
I would hear the stories of Mr. Yellen, but when you go to the old Pioneer Dairy, when we got involved with them, on the wall, there's several, Bernie Yellen's number. His home number is on the wall by the panel.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day.
Right down behind. I'm sure if you go down to the brass rail and go down in the back corner of the basement where the bowling machines were, you'll find phone numbers there.
Just sitting there too.
Yeah, wow. For sure. Yeah.
Any siblings?
I have a sister. Yeah.
Was she as involved? Older, younger?
5 years older than me. Not as much. She did go to college.
Yeah.
And from college went to work in Boston, and then went into teaching.
Okay.
So I actually taught in Southwick for several years.
Oh wow.
And then moved on to guidance and worked Gateway, I think.
Yep. So she's still local?
No, they live in Oceanside, California.
Oh, geez.
And Venice,
nice.
Florida. Yeah, they have twin boys, and one of the boys is in California, so they spend 6 months there, and the other one is in Florida, so they spend 6 months there.
Well, that worked out well.
Yeah, worked out good for them.
Yeah, and in your neighborhood, so that's even better.
Yep.
Nice. What else can we talk about? We talked about the flood. You guys were spared from that, which was very
Yeah.
lucky.
A lot of people weren't, though. My mom's cousin was Al Tonelli that had Tonelli's in Westfield. Do you remember Tonelli's? Okay, on
Yeah.
the corner of Little River Road there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time there with a lot of our help and our family helping Al and Pearl Tonelli clean their place up because they really got flooded. So
You must have lost power here, though. You must have lost quite a bit.
Yeah,
Even though
yeah.
the structures were saved.
yeah, you know, by Charlie Pratt, you had mentioned Charlie,
Yeah.
but that was washed out there. I think I'm not. I don't remember it being completely washed out. I think it was still passable.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for a while, but of course, down Depot Street was completely washed
Gone.
out there. That was all
Yeah.
gone. There was a lot of water. There was
a lot of water.
Yeah, it was crazy. Pictures of like when Wolf's Garage was
Yeah.
right down the street here. I
Yep.
mean, the water was right up.
Yeah, they see a few cars floated away back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, yeah, interesting. But
Yeah, interesting times for sure.
yeah, but so I don't know. Southwick, you know, other than some of the places getting flooded, we were spared pretty.
That's what I was told. It was it was a
Yeah,
lake
I mean,
issue,
yeah.
a little bit on Powder Mill issue, but it
Yeah.
wasn't the whole town by any
No,
means.
no.
And if you didn't have to go down there, you didn't even know about
Yeah,
it.
well, in Long Yard,
Yeah.
that got washed out there.
Yeah.
Keenan's lost
Yep.
their house, and
Yep.
that's where the lake went out, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting. We had a little. I've seen a couple of pictures. I think Bruce Weston posted a picture, and with just. I mean, I think we had maybe a couple 100 feet of water in the center of North Pond,
Yeah.
where the deepest area was.
Right. That was it.
That pond is probably the deepest of all of them.
Yeah.
Anyways, always has been. I
Right.
think there's about 80 feet of water in the middle there,
Gotcha.
where the others are probably 30, 35 feet at the most.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Found a lot of stuff when I emptied out, I was told.
Not as much as you would have thought, really, but because there were a lot of, believe me, there were a lot of motors and motors lost and
Yeah.
and boats and cars and whatever, but not as much
Yeah.
as you would have thought. I mean, it was actually pretty clean.
I can
really.
remember at 7 years old ice fishing, and the car was right out on the ice with you. With my
Oh, yeah.
grandfather.
Yeah, and back
wasn't
then-
an issue. Yeah.
Back then, we spent a lot of time. A couple of us would plow a road from our little marina there, where the boat that was south.
Right.
The boat club was there. Congamon Boat Club rented from my mom and dad, and had a little building there that burnt right across the street from Minnie's
Oh, geez.
boathouse, and we would plow a road down the lake to Saunders.
Really?
Yeah, and spend a lot of time out there on the lake. And
Were the ice houses still around? Or
I
the remnants
don't,
of them? You don't remember?
I don't remember any of the ice
Yeah.
houses. I do remember, the foundations and
Yeah.
some of the structure, like on South Pond, was still visible when I was
Right.
a kid. But I don't
Yeah,
remember
that was
them
all.
being around.
Yeah.
The railroad was interesting. I do remember seeing both railroad stations were still,
That was a big part.
still active.
Yeah.
And still around.
They say that brought most of your tourists in at one point.
That ice industry, I guess, was something. I mean, I have the Southwick book, which I'm sure
Yep.
you do too,
Oh, yeah.
and I passed it around the condominium in Florida many times. People get a thrill out of it because reading it, because they don't understand
Yeah.
the ice and how
Ice
important
industry.
Southwick was in that. In that,
Yeah.
it's amazing when you read how much revenue.
How much of
brought
a part that was of this.
Oh yeah. And the people that it brought into town.
Yeah.
Like I said, yeah. Like as we started the conversation with the brass rail, a lot of the shows and stuff that my parents brought into the brass rail when it was, on the Middle Pond, and then when it was moved over to North Pond area there, came out of New York and everything, and there was still a lot of around the lake when I was a kid was a lot of lot of transit. I mean, there wasn't a lot of full-time people living in a lot of the cottages.
And they truly were cottages.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
King's Beach, for example. You know, Harold King and his brother Larry, back in the 50s. That was kind of a booming area for them. I mean, they manufactured their own boats, King Craft boats.
Oh,
You know, for years, and sold. You know, one of the brothers, Larry, sold Evinrude motors, and the other brother sold Mercury motors. So they did quite a business there, and their beach was kind of busy all the time. But
Yeah.
they had about 30 cottages
yes.
on North Pond there that they rented every summer, and that was about it on North Pond. I mean, when you go up, you know, past Norris on Babb Road,
Yeah.
you know, those Castle Street, Lakeview Street.
Yep.
Most of those were, you know, a lot of those were summer cottages. Carl Schwartz and his wife, Ina Schwartz, they had an awful lot of those homes right there that they built. A lot of them were rented year round, but the few of them that they had on the water
Or summer.
were summer, you know, and summer only. So it was funny. We had a lot of people would come out of the city. A lot of people would come out of Springfield,
Yeah.
come out of Hartford or whatever.
Right.
New Britain was another area that people, you know, we'd get a lot of people that would come for the summers and spend the summers. Berkshire Avenue, you know, from Point Grove Road was not even open when I was a kid. It didn't
exist.
Didn't exist until you got about where the Old Town Beach was, you know,
Yep.
down in the
Yeah,
dip
yeah.
there. You know, and then that was. I'm not sure whether Barnett or I can't remember the name now, Miller, but there was somebody there that had exotic animals. They had peacocks and
Okay.
but that whole area on the lake there, because we had several lots there behind the old schoolhouse.
Right.
For quite a few years until my dad passed.
Right.
And then we got rid of those, but. Yeah, the lake area was.
Yeah, I hear
very,
Condamon Heights, or there was way back when. That's probably to the left there.
Yeah.
You know, never really official, but somewhat official. You know, and as we find today, trying to get those roads repaired.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they weren't roads; they were paths. They
They
were literally
were.
paths.
Yeah, yeah. North Pond there, that area where
Yeah.
we're behind the liquor store.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Across from the old ranch house there, those roads were. Yeah, Southwick. When I was a kid, Southwick had a lot of dirt roads.
Yep. Literally.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Anything else you'd like to add? What are we missing?
I don't know. We keep digging. We keep bringing up more stuff for sure.
The bodies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, you know, I mean, you know, Fletcher's. You know.
Yep,
I was-
Fletcher's Electric.
Fletcher Electric and Fletcher. You know, the old powder mill there. I mean, that was still the building was still up when I was a kid.
Right.
You know, that whole area there was interesting. There. Yeah, Fletcher was funny because they actually had all the electric. They supplied all the electric for the Griffin Road, Suffield area.
Really?
Oh yeah, for years and years. I think it's now been sold out. I think he sold out to, you know, EverSource or Connecticut Light and Power. But Alan we used to be a collection station for him. I used to collect at the store at Ebbs Corner. We would collect his electric bills there. The people would come in from Griffin Road area and whatever down that area. Holiday Ave too, Babb's area, that whole area. He supplied all the power for it.
So I see, you know, and I'm young. I'm 58, but when you go past that area, you see those buildings. Is that for water or power? On the left-hand side, if you're heading from Connecticut into Southwick.
Oh, there's a water company.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. Not sure what the name of it is now,
Yeah.
but Paul Hernowitz, when Paul bought that property over
Right.
there to develop it, okay.
Yeah.
That was the old Miller's Beach area.
Okay.
Okay, but
Yeah.
he drilled, and I'm not sure how far he went down or whatever, but he gets in. They supply they used to supply about 400 or 500 people in the area there.
Interesting.
They got bought out by a concern now out of southern Connecticut. We are on their water at the shop, so.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring. Yeah.
So I do still get,
Yeah.
stuff from them. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, Joe, because I don't know whether I saw it on Facebook or whatever, but somebody put a map on of a lake, an underground lake. Have you seen that?
I have not.
That's pretty interesting because it starts up in the Vermont, New Hampshire
I heard
area.
about that. Yes.
And comes down.
It comes down to us.
And it does. If you see the notch where we are, it comes down into that area. And I'm wondering if that's what.
Is that the aquifer they speak of?
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's what Paul drilled into because, I mean, he gets a tremendous amount of water there. That's why they do have a storage tank on that they built there. Yeah.
So I'm at the old Barb's Bait and Tackle.
Yeah.
Technically, when we were younger, and in Pioneer Dairy, of course, had a well.
Yeah.
I always wanted to build Southwick Ice and Water when they closed, because the volume of water they would pull out of that ground to make ice cream, and to clean and to maintain was crazy.
Really.
They still have it. It's just a huge pump. It's in this little room over there. It's still there.
Yeah,
it's
got to be something to that.
But he hit the aquifer. I mean,
they had to
pull
because
water.
we at Ebbs Corner drilled. Do you remember Allie Meyer? Well drilling.
Yep.
Well, Allie actually drilled a well for us back then, and we went down between 300 and 400 feet, and we got plenty of water for us, but nowhere near what everybody else was drawing out. I mean, we were probably getting 8 or 10 gallons per minute or something. But where everybody else was getting all these phenomenal amounts. So, it all depends where you were.
Calabrese across the street from me, and the wells are almost identical in view of each other, mine and his, but X amount of feet apart. They get crazy numbers. I think I went down 800 feet.
Oh, okay.
And I'm finally getting, okay numbers, better than the average house, but nothing compared to, Pioneer Dairy is 1/8 of a mile down the road, but and they say by me, literally with a pumping station for the gas goes through, that's kind of the end of the aquifer. Like I'm only, 80 feet away, but it's enough.
Oh yeah,
it's enough.
Yeah,
to not get it.
I think that there's an awful lot of water under our area.
Yeah,
but again, if you're in the right location.
Yep. The folks that bought Prifty Motors and redid it, talking to them about
He did a great job.
Didn't he do a good job? He's actually building my food pantry for me.
Oh, good.
That's our town's new food pantry. Yeah. Good. Nice family, but isn't the place come out beautiful?
They did.
Yeah.
They did a nice job.
And they promised her they wouldn't knock it down, and they would,
And they hadn't seen Wolf's old garage here in a long time. The body shop, down here in Southwick Auto Body, and they did a beautiful job.
Yeah, they did.
It's great to see what they're doing.
It is. It really is. The old library's been restored.
Yep, some of the older buildings instead of tearing them down. Yep.
It's very hard to not tear them down. You got the right mindset.
It's interesting because, when I come back, which we do every year, when we come back up here, I really enjoy it because where we are in Florida now, the Venice area, was developed in the 20s, 1920s. So, it's crazy. Their old stuff is 100 years old. Where up here we're talking buildings that were built, 300 years ago.
The
homes built in the 1800s.
Yeah, the church that we acquired is 216 years old.
Yeah,
and maybe not so much the structure, but the foundation is, and it's just the real wood, the real rock.
I love it. I bought the old stables and blacksmith shop in Suffield, and back in the 70s. It was a Turner's Garage is what it was at the time when I bought it. But when we just, myself and a couple of friends of mine formed a partnership and redid the building.
Yeah.
And I always laugh about it because we were just talking to somebody about it because the blocks were all handmade blocks, but they were 12 by 12s.
Yeah.
And they were formed. They had the stone form on one side of them, so they were finished on one side. So of course, when we did it, I decided I always loved the brass rail. I liked the brick,
Yep.
fascia on the brass rail. And my dad with the brownstoner, in this placed here and there.
Sure.
I always liked that look, so I went talked the other guys into doing that, and that's what we did with this building.
Right.
So now we have the building, so we have 12-inch walls, so we added another 4+ on this side with the bricks, and then we added framed another 4+ on the other side.
Oh, wow.
With the so we got walls that are
Sure.
darn near 2 feet walls. So when the guy came in to do the trim work, he's going, "What do you want me to do with these windowsills?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's got 14-inch, 15-inch pine wood boards, so they're almost like little seats in there. But I love the way that building came out, and I love the fact that we didn't tear it down. My father thought I was crazy at the time, and after I finished, I know he was right. But
definitely, yeah.
But and you'll find out doing with the old church, I'm sure. But but it'd be well worth keeping it.
And it is. That's what we had looked at. I'm not trying to be mean, but in the town of Southwick, it seems you can drop a bulldozer on a Friday. You can level whatever you want to level over the weekend, pay the fine on Monday.
Yeah.
And time moves on. So when we had acquired the church, I said, this isn't coming down. It's so close to the road. You go upstairs in the top of the church, you look out the window, and all I see is the horse and buggies, and like this was the main, this was the main road,
Yeah, when when we had to pick and shovel because we couldn't get anything into the basement of this building.
Oh, geez.
And of course, it's all hard pan and all clay.
Right.
In that area of Suffield, where West Suffield is all sand, but when we got it all dug out and everything, some of the stuff we found in there, the horseshoes that had been made, the old base for the anvil, and it was crazy. And some bells. I actually donated quite a bit of the stuff that we found to the gentleman up in Granville that built the shop up there.
The drum factory?
No, he owned the drum shop.
Oh, okay.
But he did build a little blacksmith shop.
Oh, did
there.
he?
So we donated some of the stuff we found to him. And, crazy.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah.
So roads, we've covered. What do we have not covered? How much trouble did we get into as a youth?
Well, we had, we had an interesting, one-man police department for quite a while.
You did, yeah. Right.
Joe Morehouse.
Joe Morehouse.
Joe
Wow.
Morehouse when I was a young man, and
so if we went by that way, you were good for a half hour.
Yeah, and then and then Charlie Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, we had the state police, and it was interesting because the state police would always make their rounds, and they obviously made their rounds to all the restaurants. So
obviously.
So if I had an incident, my parents would know before I got home. So
literally, yeah.
So, but we survived it, so it's all good.
It is.
It's all good. And, no felonies, so it's all good.
No. What were the best roads to race on? Now that I know you're a drag racer.
Most of the stuff we did was actually at Ebbs Corner.
Okay.
If you went going south, when you made the left, first telephone pole to the fourth one down.
Really?
Yeah.
It is nice and straight there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you got a decent shutdown.
Yeah, and then 57 was just being built back then,
built.
so that was interesting too.
And that wasn't far away.
No,
especially the back road over there.
Yeah.
Drop you right on 57.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the 57 the kids know today, because
no,
Agawam High was the end of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Eastern States was going on back then, the Big E?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and of course, everybody went every year, it was,
But Southwick still had their own carnival, right? The Firemen's Association?
Southwick did, Suffield always did, they did. Yeah, Southwick always did a good job. It was always over next to the fire station.
Yeah,
when
literally.
when I was a kid over there. Yeah.
That was a big fundraiser for them.
It was, And again, Nucci, Prifty had a lot to do with that.
Nucci pretty much ran this town.
He did.
He really did.
Really did
Yeah.
a good job. He was a nice guy. He was very, very helpful for me because of all the the automotive growing up and
Sure.
the learning experience, and so were I enjoyed both the Wolf brothers. I can remember an incident one night in bowling where I was telling Bob that I had a '62 Chevy and I blew to 4-speed to transmission, Muncie 4-speed.
Yeah.
Had a heck of a time trying to put it back together again. I got the cluster gear I needed and everything else. I was just having a terrible time. And he said, "Well, just bring it bring it up to the shop tomorrow." And I guess his nephew Jimmy was the one, I believe, was the one that did transmissions back
Right.
then. And he said, "Just bring it up, and Jimmy will put it together in a couple hours for you." But they were all helpful, very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Nice guys.
Yeah. Those were the days.
It was a very close-knit community. Clayt Siegel, when he was involved, he had the SO station there across from Prifty's for years.
Now, Clayton, the old man?
Yeah.
Right, so I know young Clayton, which...
Yeah.
Yeah. So his father had a gas station.
Yeah, they had that gas station there he had that gas station forever, and then I think they were Dunkin' Donuts is there. That used to be, I think that was the Ford garage years ago.
Okay.
But they did that building over into a Shell station for a few years. And then he got together with the Plakises, and they built that huge building over there into a frame shop and everything.
Gotcha.
That was back when I got involved. I went to work for a gentleman by the name of Bob Heiders in Springfield.
Yes.
And we did, old time framework. We had 2 or 3 frame machines in there, but that started, and that was I think was a blacksmith shop way back in the day, and got into frame straightening automobiles and whatever.
Wow.
But anyway, then Clayt got involved with the guys, and they opened that up over there for a while.
So Plakis has had a big part. I keep hearing Plakis brought up every once in a while. So the 2 brothers?
Charlie and Andy.
Yeah. I never met Charlie. I heard about him.
Charlie lived in the center of town. He was into antique cars. He had himself. I used to go and see his stuff all the time. He had some nice stuff there. He had Pierce Arrow and
wow.
That kind of things.
Wow.
Yeah, he died very young, unfortunately, and his brother Andy took over, and I believe David's involved now, and I think David lost his brother and he was young.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. David. I know David.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's 2 generations of Plakis.
And Hart was involved with that frame machine or frame set up over there on Foster Road too with Plakis.
That's right. There was a frame machine in there.
Yeah, and they had 2 or 3 of them.
Jeez.
Yeah, they moved them out. I'm not sure where they got them from, but
yeah. We didn't total things like we do today, right?
It's a different world, As I said, I'm still doing, I'm still a licensed appraiser here in Massachusetts and Connecticut, but I'm still involved in Florida in a pretty good sized shop. We've got 8 guys there, so.
That's a big shop.
But they don't do what we used to do. I mean, today it's mostly, bolt and unbolt, new parts. And insurance.
It's tin anyways.
It is.
Right? Other than your trucks, it's not. It's nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
They took unibody to a whole new level.
They did.
Yeah.
Very safe. They do a heck of a job with these new cars.
Yeah.
They really do. People don't realize that the way they crush is the way they're supposed to.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's going to conclude. I think we're right now. We're hitting the button at 106. So
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, folks. We'll have a few more as we move on through the summer. Have a good day.